The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise. Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. All of you Dodger fans out there may be waking up a little hoarse this morning, like one of my friends here.
Yeah, it was an incredible game last night. We'll get more to that in just a bit, but I will say it was a late night for me. It was also a late night for Kevin Charette. Both of us texting each other near 10 o'clock at night.
Oh my gosh, that is so late.
We begin this morning with new video of yesterday's officer-involved shooting in southeast Bakersfield. As 17's Christian Galeno reports, the shooting is believed to have stemmed from a domestic violence situation. And a word of caution, some may find the following images disturbing.
Now come around to the side.
I heard the police loudspeaker, don't move, don't move, don't move.
Subject moving around in the vehicle.
Next thing I heard, just several gunshots, quite a few gunshots.
Minutes after midnight, the sounds of gunshots rattled residents on Texas Street and Tyree Tolliver Street, not far from Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Highway 88. Outside of their homes, the 8th person to die this year at the hands of law enforcement quickly dies on the street.
Just rapid fire. You could tell it was more than one gun being fired, though.
The man's name has yet to be released, nor details on the extent of the domestic violence case. This also marks the 12th incident involving gunshots and an officer in Kern County.
But none of the neighbors were hurt. As far as I know, they checked everyone in the area, and all of us were okay. Good. But that's all that took place.
6 deputies are now on administrative leave pending further investigation.
It's scary, you know? It's just really, yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It's scary. Way too much going on. It's too much going on.
17's Christian Galeno reporting. And we should note that KCSO along with BPD were recently being investigated by the State Department of Justice for policies and procedures on excessive force. Among them, the high rate of deadly officer-involved shootings, which critics have deemed among the deadliest in the nation. And a reminder, if you experience domestic violence or know someone who has, there is help available. Always call 911 if it's an emergency. You can also call the Alliance Against Family Violence and Sexual Assault at 322-0931 or their crisis line at 327-1091 or the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE.
In your 17 Crime Watch this morning, a woman was shot last night during a robbery at an Oildale marijuana shop. According to Kern County Sheriff's Office, deputies were called to the shop on Grant Drive around 10 o'clock for reports of a shooting. Deputies say 3 men with guns entered the shop and took an unknown amount of marijuana. A woman was shot during the robbery. She is expected to survive. Deputies say another man and woman were hurt when they were pistol whipped and hurt.
At least one person is in the hospital this morning after being shot in central Bakersfield. It happened just after 3 o'clock yesterday evening near the intersection of Brundage Lane and Union Avenue. The Bakersfield Police Department says when officers arrived, they found a person who had been shot. That person was taken to the hospital, and their name has not publicly been released, nor has any information on a possible shooter.
The Kern County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help finding a woman they say was reported missing 6 months ago. 35-year-old Blanca Sanchez was last seen April 20th. She's described as 5 feet tall, weighing 170 pounds. If you have any idea where Blanca Sanchez might be, you're asked to call KCSO at 861-3110, or you can call the secret witness line at 322-4040.
We now know the name of the 72-year-old woman who was hit and killed by a car last week near Lamont. Officials say Mariah Angela Morales of Arvin was hit by a car on September 27th on North Comanche Drive at Russell Street. Highway patrol officers say Morales walked directly into the path of the car traveling south on Comanche Drive. The driver of the vehicle, a 17-year-old girl, remained at the scene and cooperated with investigators.
The Bakersfield City Council last night approved the expansion of the Kaiser Permanente Sports Village. The 5-0 vote will allocate almost $4 million in Measure N funding toward the $12.4 million expansion. The project will add 5 new football fields, seating, a concession building, restrooms, picnic areas, parking lot lighting, and more. The sports complex located north of Taft Highway is the home base for over 2,000 local athletes. Officials say the expansion is also made possible by a $3 million grant from the National Park Service. Meantime, the City Council will discuss a proposal for the world's longest painting of a river canal at a later date. The 350-foot painting would include famous Bakersfield landmarks and a timeline of the Bakersfield Police Department, painted by artist John S. Barge III. The mural project was taken off the consent calendar for last night's meeting for further staff consideration.
A new skilled nursing facility could be coming to Bakersfield. If approved, the new Asta Post-Acute Hospital facility would be built on Lucy Oliver Place, just south of the Sam's Club in southwest Bakersfield. It would provide 24-hour personalized care for a variety of conditions, including stroke, recovery, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease, and physical rehabilitation. The City Planning Commission is set to review the proposal for the new facility later tonight.
Muscle cars and vintage vehicles are set to take over the streets of Bakersfield this week for the 4th annual Cruisin' for Charity event. It's happening today, tomorrow, and Saturday at multiple locations across town. Money from tickets and donations will go to 6 local charities, including the Mission at Kern County, Wounded Heroes Fund, and more. For more information or to register, just visit cruisinforcharity.com. And if you were registered for last year's event, which was canceled due to the pandemic, organizers say that registration has carried over to this year's event. Recapping our top stories here at 5:30, detectives believe yesterday's officer-involved shooting stemmed from a domestic violence incident. Kern County deputies shot and killed a man outside a home on Texas Street just after midnight. The shooting marks the 12th involving an officer in Kern County this year. A woman was shot last night during a robbery at an Oildale marijuana shop. It happened on Grant Drive around 10 o'clock. Deputies say 3 men with guns entered the shop and took an unknown amount of marijuana. The woman who was shot during the robbery is expected to survive. And the Bakersfield City Council last night approved the expansion of the Kaiser Permanente Sports Village. The 5-0 vote will allocate almost $4 million in Measure N funding toward the $12.4 million expansion. The project will add 5 new football fields, seating, a concession building, restrooms, picnic areas, parking lot lighting, and more.
President Biden is going to Chicago today to talk about vaccine mandates. While in Washington, there appears to be movement on increasing the nation's debt limit. Lawmakers have just 11 days to pass a debt limit increase. A default would likely trigger a recession and rattle the world's financial markets. NBC's Chris Pallone has more from Capitol Hill.
Alex, good morning. If negotiations go well, the Senate could vote today to raise the nation's debt limit, avoiding a financial disaster for at least a couple of months. Senate Democrats and Republicans nearing an agreement to increase the nation's debt limit in time to avoid its first default in history.
We're making good progress. We're not there yet, but I hope we can come to an agreement tomorrow morning.
I'm not going to vote for a debt ceiling increase. I'm just not.
For weeks, Republicans have blocked Democrats' attempts to increase the nation's credit limit, protesting the Biden administration's future spending goals, including a $3.5 trillion social program and climate change bill, by potentially defaulting on spending largely incurred during the Trump administration.
Let me be clear. Raising the debt limit is paying our old debts. There's nothing to do with new spending or what may be coming this year or other year.
Now, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell appears willing to let Democrats raise the country's debt limit with a simple majority, but for a fixed amount of money and only until December.
We view that as a victory. We view it as a temporary victory, though, with more work to do.
The Treasury is on track to run out of money to pay the nation's bills October 18th.
We would likely experience a recession. Millions of jobs would be lost, and the pain would endure well past the resolution of the crisis.
The clock's still counting down, with Social Security checks, military pay, and a healthy economy hanging in the balance. If a debt limit increase is passed today, Democrats will immediately turn their attention back to trying to get deals to pass that bipartisan infrastructure bill and President Biden's Build Back Better bill. In Washington, Chris Pallone, 17 News.
Your time now is 5:35, and now to Los Angeles, where the city council there has enacted what is seen as the strictest vaccine mandate in the nation. The sweeping measure would require proof of vaccine for anyone and everyone entering a bar, restaurant, nightclub, nail salon, gym, or event center with more than 10,000 people. Retail, grocery stores, and pharmacies are not included in the mandate. Some critics argue a mandate of this scope would amount to the segregation of those who refuse to be vaccinated. Others call it unenforceable and worried it could impact small businesses.
Do you think you'll have to turn customers away?
I hope not, especially during these times. Every cent counts. So turning away customers is not something that we're looking forward to.
The new law will be enacted starting November 4th. And meantime, this comes as a separate vaccine mandate is set to go in effect today in Los Angeles County, requiring the shots for guests at theme parks such as Universal Studios and Six Flags, as well as sports events like Dodger games. This does not apply to Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm, as they are in neighboring Orange County.
The death toll continues to climb here in Kern County, with public health announcing 6 more deaths related to coronavirus yesterday. 1,566 people have died from the virus since the beginning of the pandemic. We also learned of 453 additional COVID-19 infections yesterday. 247 people are in the hospital with COVID-19. 76 are in the ICU.
And the pandemic has taken a toll on more than just the coronavirus victims. It's also affecting common preventative medical procedures.
I know there's been a lot of talk about just the preventative care, and all those screenings have not been done for breast cancer, colon cancer, any other things that we normally do on an annual basis, even a biannual basis. And it's starting to improve a little bit, but we know that there's people that are still having a difficult time getting appointments with their physicians for those screenings.
Memorial Hospital Chief Nursing Officer Terry Church yesterday offered her experience with delayed procedures due to the pandemic, urging anyone who's been skipping out on regular screenings for any health issues to keep pushing for appointments.
Top health officials yesterday warned the U.S. could be at risk for a severe flu season because flu cases were at an all-time low last year.
CDC's flu experts are concerned that reduced population-level immunity to the seasonal flu could place us at risk for a potentially severe flu season this year. The symptoms of flu can often be similar to those with COVID-19, which can lead to additional needs for flu and COVID testing and isolation for either of the diseases, especially in schools.
CDC Director Dr. Walensky added it is safe and effective to get both vaccines at the same time.
And closer to home, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and a ceremony will be held today in honor of breast cancer survivors. Kaiser Permanente of Kern County will celebrate 35 of their patients by unveiling a survivor wall in their honor. The Breast Cancer Survivors Wall will be displayed through the month of October at the Stockdale Medical offices at the corner of Real and Stockdale. The building is also lit up in pink. The presentation begins at 5:45 this evening with an unveiling to follow.
The city of Bakersfield has launched a new social media campaign encouraging folks to take selfies around town to promote the city and win some prizes. It is called the Bakersfield Selfie Trail. The trail will help residents and visitors alike find unique Bakersfield locations like the iconic Bakersfield sign, Beale Memorial Clock Tower, and the Kern County Museum, or even the Big Shoe on Chester Avenue. So here's how it's done. Check in at any of the 12 of the 20 different selfie trail locations in town to qualify for a chance to win a 30-ounce Yeti tumbler or a t-shirt and hat combo. To sign up, you can visit our website, kget.com.
Your time now is 5:40, and you still have time to adopt a shelter pet for free. As part of National Adopt a Shelter Pet Month, Assemblyman Vince Fong is covering the costs for the first 100 adoptions at Kern County Animal Services on Fruitvale Avenue. As of last check, 39 animals had been adopted, and there are still more than 100 in need of loving homes.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.